I need a raise. I deserve a raise, but I have to admit I'm afraid to ask for one, not only because of what the boss might say, but because of what the people in the office will say too. They might think I'm kissing up or trying to be better than them, you know?
Fear of what other people may think or say about you often blocks opportunities. The action cure is to first make sure that what you plan to do is right and justified, and if you feel sure it is, then go ahead with it. Don't get hung up on what other people might think. No one ever does anything worthwhile for which he or she is not criticized somewhere along the road.
These are just a few examples, but the procedure to cure fear and win confidence can be summed up in 2 stages. First, isolate your fear. Pin it down. Determine exactly what you're afraid of. Second, take action. There is some kind of action that will cure any and every kind of fear. Now remember this, action is more than just a cure for fear. Action is a tool for success. Action is a confidence builder and a self-belief builder. Action, making things happen, is what separates a dreamer from a doer. Now, it's good to dream. Many good and useful ideas come from dreaming, but ideas without action are like a car without an engine. In other words, they're useless. Our minds generate lots of ideas every day, ideas about different things. It will help your success plan if you get in the habit of capturing those ideas when they happen. Carry around a notebook or some small cards so you can make a note of your ideas and keep those ideas in an active, accessible file. That can be anything from a fancy cabinet to a shoebox, but make sure they're in a place where you can easily get to them and look at them frequently. Review your ideas and cull out the ones that don't have any value, but the ones that look feasible, hang on to them, research them, read everything you can that pertains to your idea, talk it over with your friends, your family, fellow workers, polish your ideas, think and dream about them, and then act on them. Remember, excellent ideas alone are not enough. A fair idea developed and acted upon is 100% better than a great idea that dies because it isn't followed up.
Remember the first experiment in your people laboratory? We suggested that you pick 2 successful people and 2 unsuccessful people and see how the attributes that David Schwartz describes fit those individuals. Well, think about that experiment again and see how this model applies. People tend to fall into 2 general categories. Successful people are active. They take action, get things done, follow through on ideas and plans. Unsuccessful people tend to be more passive. They are don'ters. They postpone doing things until they can prove to themselves that they shouldn't do them or can't do them anyway. For purposes of this example, we'll call the active person Mr. A and the passive person Mr. P. Now let's examine some typical Mr. A and Mr. P behaviors. In countless ways, large and small, the differences between Mr. A and Mr. P show through. An employee at work does a particularly good job on a tough assignment, and Mr. A decides to write him a note to congratulate him on his achievement. As soon as he makes that decision, Mr. A sits down, writes the note, and has it delivered. Mr. P decides to write a note too, but he has some other things to do right now, so he doesn't get to it right away. And then he forgets for a day or two, and the note, in fact, never gets written. Mr. A, at the age of 45, decides he wants to go into a new line of work. He researches the field he's interested in, decides on a course of action by formulating a plan for success, and he follows through, step by step. In 2 years, he's on a new career course, and he's glad he made the change. Mr. P, at the same age, also gets the idea that he'd like to try something new, but he sits down and thinks it over, and decides that it's better not to rock the boat at his age, because if he failed, he'd be too old to make a comeback. Mr. A gets the things done that he wants to do, and as a byproduct, he gains confidence. He gets a feeling of inner security, self-reliance, and he also earns more income. Mr. P is afraid to act. He doesn't do the things that he wants to do. He limits his possibilities by convincing himself of the folly of action. As byproducts, he loses confidence in himself, becomes negative about life, and he lives in mediocrity.
There is a saying that says, experience is priceless. It's a shame you have to pay for it with your youth. To become experienced, it's going to cost you your entire youth. The only way to get experience, you got to get old. I know you don't want to, but old is the goal. I tell people all the time, kids come up and they go, man, Mr. Harvey, you old. Old is the goal. See, if you stop getting old, The day you stop getting old, you're gonna die. You're gonna die. It's over. It's over for you. See, I like getting old, because that means I'm still here. So, it's so many things to that question. But there is a balance. You have to have a good time. You have to do your work. You know, and then parents, let me tell you this. It's not just schoolwork. Kids can't just do schoolwork. You got to give them some time to enjoy themselves. You know, you got to give them time to be a kid. You know, you got to let them go do something. I know. Be focused, be focused, be focused, be focused, be focused. Focus, 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 focus. Hey, man, they young. They young. They just want to go outside. They want to do something fun. Now, fun over here is way different from fun in the United States. So I don't know what that is, but they just want to have fun. You got to create a balance. So like with all my kids, my youngest child now is 22 years old. So I don't have to watch them. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I still watch them. Yes, but they're not. They can all drive. They all got cars. They all have their own apartment. They're independent. They all have jobs. I'm very fortunate. All of my children have to be, I put 7 kids through college. You know why? Because I flunked out of school. I flunked out of school. I failed in school. I was expelled from school and couldn't go back. I was not a good student. And so I didn't want my children to have to suffer the way I suffered with no education. See, and then sometimes my kids would go, well, Dad, look how your life turned out. You didn't have an education, and look at your life. Yeah, but you ain't got no jokes. See, my life turned out okay because God had given me this incredible gift. I have the ability to make people I've never met laugh. So I have a gift. You don't have this gift. You need education. You got to get educated. So all of my children have gone to college. And that's been a very proud thing for me. But I had to learn to let them have fun too. So, we go on family vacations and things like that. And we try to sit around and have family time. We try to eat some meals together. Like I'll have 1, 2 of them here with me. My son's with me all the time. I don't know where my daughter is. She's with their mama. I don't know. My son, he's gonna come with his father because he loves me. Roderick Stephen Harvey Jr. I named him after me. That was my firstborn son. I have 3 sons. And he's a very good son. A lot of beautiful women over here, but he knows we don't do nothing over here. We're going home. The Muslim men over here, they're not playing. They're not playing. There's no game with them. These Muslim men over here, they love their daughters. Don't play. So we going home. We'll go somewhere else. We're not here. Look, this is a real simple answer. To create the balance, you just got to take some time out to do some stuff you enjoy doing. Now look. My enjoyment is probably very different from yours. So don't do what Steve do. My enjoyment is very different. But you have to find the things that you like. You got beautiful beaches here. Go to the beach. Do something other than work. Because, man, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. You cannot work all the time. You have to do something for enjoyment. You got to, man. Why are you making money? Go buy yourself your favorite food and go eat it on the beach. Go get yourself, just sit down somewhere. You can't, I have to remember where I am, so just buy yourself something to eat and sit on the beach. Just do that. Don't be trying to find a cigar and all that ain't gonna happen. Not here. I know I tried. But that's another thing, because I'm a cigar guy. When I come here, that's not the case, but I'm fine, so I learned how to deal with it. We have laws. We have to be respectful of people's culture and country, so it's fine.
Goals are major to a genuinely success-oriented person. Without them, you're just playing around. The difference between a goal-directed individual and someone without goals is like the difference between a Wimbledon champion and a kid batting a tennis ball around on a court with no net, no opponent to bring out the best in him, and no way of keeping score. Despite everything that's been written about the importance of goal setting, very few people actually put it into practice. It's always amazed me the way the average guy puts more thought and effort into planning his 2-week vacation than he devotes to planning his life. What's he taking a vacation from? He hasn't really decided what he's trying to do in life, but for 2 weeks out of the year, he just decides he wants to do something else. And this is what he plans very carefully. Challenge creates strong character, and goals represent challenge in its most positive form. Leaders have their personal goals clearly in focus, as well as the goals of the organization. In fact, one of the principal responsibilities of leadership is defining goals for the vast majority of people who aren't able to do it for themselves. Over the years, I've developed some ideas about effective goal setting, and I'd like to share those with you in a moment. When I was a kid, I used to dream what it would be like to buy a ticket on a railroad train and just go someplace. I really didn't think about where I'd be going or how long it would take to get there. I just loved the idea of getting on the train and just letting it take me someplace. I guess there's still something appealing about that idea, but it's not really the way you want to live your life as a mature human being. When you grow up, you buy a ticket on a train or a plane because you want to go someplace, and you know exactly where you're going. You may have to change planes in a different city, your flight may be canceled, and you may have to switch to another flight. You may not feel like talking to the person seated next to you, but you will persist. You know where you're headed, and you're quite determined to get there. That's goal-directed behavior in its simplest form. There are short-term goals and long-term goals. Sometimes you're flying across the country, other times you're just walking down to the corner grocery store. Long-term goals are the equivalent of a major journey. When you reach the point where you've achieved your long-term goals, your life will be fundamentally changed, and the process of getting to that point will transform you into a stronger, wiser, higher-performing person than you are now. How can you identify your long-term goals? On a sheet of paper or in a notebook, write these 5 headings. Number 1, what do I want to do? Number 2, what do I want to be? Number 3, what do I want to see? Number 4, what do I want to have? And number 5, where do I want to go? Now, under each of these categories, write down several possible long-term goals. Be very relaxed about this. Just allow your mind to flow and come up with 3 to 6 ideas for each category. Don't worry about a lot of details at this point, and don't spend too much time describing a particular goal. In category number 1, for example, what do I want to do? Suppose you want to write a book about the history of your family, going back to the arrival of your great-grandparents in the United States. Just quickly jot down family history. Then as you look down the list of categories, it occurs to you that you've always wanted to see the pyramids in Egypt, so you write pyramids. Keep writing down ideas as long as the list of categories continues to inspire you. You'll probably be surprised at some of the things that turn up. You may have kept a great many desires and aspirations hidden in the back of your mind, but the opportunity to write them down will move them to the forefront of your consciousness. That's one of the benefits of this technique. When you're satisfied with your list of long-term goals, read through the list once again. Then, beside each item, Write the number of years that you believe it will take you to achieve that particular goal. It's best to round off the numbers into 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10-year categories. For example, you may estimate that it will take you 10 years to research and write the book on your family history. But you'll need only 5 years to get yourself into a position where you can take a trip to the pyramids. Create a time frame like this for every one of your long-term goals. Immediate goals, those that will take less than a year to achieve, are important too, of course, and we'll deal with those separately in a moment. When you're finished entering your time frames, there should be a fairly balanced distribution of all your goals. If there are many 1- and 3-year objectives, but only a few in the 10-year category, maybe you need to think more about what you really want your life to add up to. What kind of life you really want to build over the long run. But if there's a preponderance of 10-year goals and relatively few of the shorter-term variety, this may be an indication that you're putting things off, that you're focused too much on where you'll be at the end of the day and not enough on what you can accomplish right now. Keep working on your list, adding and subtracting goals with various time frames until you've created a more or less even distribution. Now comes the really challenging and interesting part. So far, you've just been adding things to the list, but now it's time to start making some selections. Now you're going to start asking yourself what's really important compared to what might just be sort of fun. Choose 4 goals from each of the 4 time frames, 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, and 10 year. Now you have 16 separate goals. So far, you've only referred to them in shorthand fashion, but now you're going to start seeing them very, very clearly in your mind's eye. You're going to see each goal just as if it were being realized this very minute. And you're going to write down a detailed description of exactly what you see. Do you intend to open a handmade furniture store in 3 years? What will the store look like from the street out front? Will there be gold leaf lettering on the windows? Or will there be a sign hanging over the door instead? How many square feet will the store contain? Will there be a showroom area for the furniture in front and a workspace in back? Or will the furniture be built at a different location? Do you intend to have any employees, or will you run the business entirely by yourself? Think of all the questions that need to be answered in order to see your goal with absolute clarity. And then write the information down in a notebook or on a piece of paper. That will become one of your most important personal possessions. But that's not all. Any goal is a powerful motivator only if there's a powerful reason behind it. Why do you want to achieve your goals? Why do you want to own a handmade furniture store, or a private airplane, or a newspaper in a small town in Vermont? Why do you want to compete in a triathlon, or visit the Australian outback, or be the first woman in your family to earn a PhD? Write down your reasons for wanting each goal in the same degree of detail that you use to write your descriptions. If you can't find a clear and convincing reason for each of your 16 goals, do some serious reevaluating. You may have more whims or pipe dreams than real goals, and now is the time to make that discovery. Keep working on your list until you have 16 clearly envisioned, strongly motivating, long-term goals. Review what you've written at times, and keep track of your progress toward these objectives. Above all, persevere. Goal setting is a very important first step, but goal achievement is a continuous, lifelong process. That's what makes it so challenging. That's also why it's so extremely rewarding to finally attain your long-term goals. With regard to immediate goals, those that require anywhere from a day to a year to achieve, I recommend creating lots of objectives that can be accomplished in a month or less. Write them down. Read what you've written at frequent intervals. Keep track of your progress. And do something often that brings you closer to realizing these very short-term objectives. That way, you'll always have something to celebrate. These goals are not only important in their own right, they're also confidence builders and motivators toward a lifestyle based on perseverance and achievement.
Hi, welcome back to Mind Control.
It drives me crazy when people say they don't have enough time to go to the gym for 45 minutes a day and work out. Or to do something for 45 minutes to an hour a day to improve. If it is physically improve or if it is mentally to improve. Imagine you read 1 hour a day about history. How much you will learn after 365 hours in 1 year. Think about if you study about the history of musicians, of composers, how much you would know. Imagine if you would work on a business, on some business that you want to develop every day for an hour. Imagine how further along you will go and get. So it drives me nuts because when people say we don't have the time, we have 24 hours a day. We sleep 6 hours a day, so that gives you still 18 hours. And there's someone shaking their head out here in front to say probably, I don't sleep 6 hours, I sleep 8 hours, right? So we have 18 hours a day. The average person works around 8 to 10 hours. So let's assume it's 10 hours, so we have 8 hours left. Then you travel around an hour a day, maybe 2 hours a day. So now you have still 6 hours left. So what do you do with these 6 hours? What do we do with these 6 hours? Then we eat a little bit, then we schmooze a little bit, talk a little bit to people and all that stuff. But you can see how much time there is available if you organize your day. So you got to work hard. I mean, let me tell you something. When I went to America, I went to college. I went and worked out 5 hours a day. And I was working on construction. Because in those days in bodybuilding, there was no money. I didn't have the money for food supplements or anything. So I had to go to work. So I worked in construction. I went to college. I worked out in a gym, and at night from 8 o'clock at night to 12 midnight, I went to acting class 4 times a week. So I did all that. There was not one single minute that I wasted. And this is why I'm standing here today.
There's 86,400 seconds in a day. The separator between me and you and people that win and lose is what we do with those seconds. You want to win? You want to be a millionaire? You got to quit being so casual. You walk slow, you talk slow, you implement things slow, you talk a good game like you're going to be somebody. Wake up! You're going to get your ass kicked, dude. You got to get focused and get in a hurry. The separator is going to be who takes massive action quickly.
And that's why most people never realize their personal greatness, because they're casual about life. And when you're casual about life, you will end up a casualty. You've got to develop a sense of urgency. Start working and developing yourself now and prepare yourself for what it is that you want, because you expect to get it.
You meet somebody wealthy, their family at one point was not wealthy. And then the one shows up. The one. One person changes the family tree forever. In my family, I'm the one. And it wasn't because I wanted it or I hoped for it. I fought for it. I want to win. I want to fight for my family. I want my mom and dad proud of me. I want my kids proud of me. I want me proud of me. I want to look in the mirror and be happy with the man I look back at. That he gave it everything. That he went for it.
You've got to focus on you. And as you convince you, you will begin to see a difference in the things that you're doing. Selling yourself on your ability to perform a job. Telling yourself every day, here I go again. This is my day. and nothing out here is going to stop me.
Everything has to do with you intending to win. If you make that shift, I'm going to win. We're going to play to win now. We're not playing to play. We're not playing to see how we do. We're not playing for fun. Once you decide to win, once you start getting some winning, you start changing. You talk different. You walk different. You can change you. You'd be surprised how good you'd be if you just decide to win. Be number one in your office, number one in your region.
And don't get caught up in, well, I've tried it 4 or 5 times and things didn't work out. If there's something that you want and you're hungry for it, you've got to do what is required.
Successful people stop negotiating the price in their life. You know what's stripping all your success? You keep negotiating the price you're paying. Man, all the work I'm putting in, it's not paying off. I don't see my family as much. I got to do all this. You start negotiating it all the time, and it's zapping all your damn energy. Successful people don't negotiate price, they negotiate worth. Could this be worth it to me to pay this? And once you decide it's worth it to win, it's worth it to be somebody, the negotiation stops. It might be year 2, 3, 4 before you get your big win, but you could decide now, I'm going to walk, talk, and be a different person. You decide that. You're the lead character in the story of your life. That's the decision. Decide now. You're going to keep negotiating the price, or can you not be bought?
When asked what's the biggest mistake we make in life, the Buddha replied, the biggest mistake is you think you have time. Time is free, but it's priceless. You can't own it, but you can use it. You can't keep it, but you can spend it. And once it's lost, you can never get it back. The average person lives 78 years. We spend 28.3 years of our life sleeping. That's almost a third of our life, but 30% of us struggle to sleep well. We spend 10.5 years of our life working, but over 50% of us want to leave our current jobs. Time is more valuable than money. You can get more money, but you can never get more time. We spend 9 years on TV and social media. We spend 6 years doing chores. We spend 4 years eating and drinking. We spend 3.5 years in education. We spend 2.5 years grooming. We spend 2.5 years shopping. We spend 1.5 years in childcare, and we spend 1.3 years commuting. That leaves us with 9 years. How will we spend that time? Steve Jobs said your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. So there's good news and there's bad news. The bad news is time flies. The good news is you're the pilot. Imagine you wake up every day with $86,400 in your bank account. And at the end of the night, it's all gone, whether you spent it or not. And then the next day, you get another $86,400. What would we do with it? Every day, 86,400 seconds are deposited into your life account. At the end of the day, once they're all used up, you get a new 86,400 seconds. We would never waste it if it was money, so why do we waste it when it comes to time? Those seconds are so much more powerful than dollars, because you can always make more dollars, you can't always make more time. To realize the value of 1 year, ask a student who failed a grade. To realize the value of 1 month, ask a mother who lost her child in the final month. To realize the value of 1 week, ask the editor of an online magazine. To realize the value of 1 hour, ask the couple who's in a long-distance relationship. To realize the value of 1 minute, ask the person who just missed a bus, train, or plane. To realize the value of 1 second, ask the person who just missed an accident. And to realize the value of a millisecond, ask the person who just came second at the Olympics. We think that it's people wasting our time, that it's really us giving them the permission to do that. And in reality, these two people live inside us. Don't let someone be a priority when all you are to them is an option. Some of us lose the people most important to us because we don't value their time. Some of us don't recognize how important someone is to us until they're gone. Inside all of us are two voices. One voice that wants to uplift, one voice that wants us to expand, one voice that wants us to grow. And then there's the other voice, the voice that holds us back, the voice that makes us lazy, the voice that makes us complacent, the voice that restricts us from our potential. Every day, from the moment we wake up to the moment we go to sleep, inside of us there's this battle between the two voices. And guess which one wins? The one that we listen to the most, the one that we feed, the one that we amplify. It is our choice of how we use our time. Life and time are the best two teachers. Life teaches us to make good use of time, and time teaches us the value of life. And as William Shakespeare said, time is very slow for those who want, very fast for those who are scared, very long for those who are sad, very short for those who celebrate. But for those who love, time is eternal.
Everybody in this room wants two things. Everybody wants to be successful and everybody wants to be happy. I'm going to tell you something about that. That happiness and success is available for every last one of you. But I'm going to tell you what you're going to have to do. You got to change your mindset. If you're planning on being successful, you have to change this here. The difference between successful people and non-successful people is right here. It ain't no difference. It ain't none. I ain't got no more than none of y'all got. God gave me the same thing he gave y'all. God loved me the same as he loved all y'all. He don't love me more than he loved you. But you have got to change your mindset. You got to get funky if you want to be successful. If you think that they're going to mail this money to your house, you're dead wrong about that. If you think they're going to pave the way for you and make it easy, you're dead wrong about that. If you want to be successful, you got to change your mind, and you're going to have some faith. I am here to tell you that you can come from nothing and become something. The two most important days of your life is the day you're born and the day you discover why. All you have to do is uncover this gift that God gave you at birth, the one that he created in every living soul. He never created a person that he didn't give a gift to. All you got to do is uncover that gift that he gave you and start using it. The Bible says your gift will make room for you. You have got to make some decisions in your life, but you got to tie it to this gift. Your gift is the thing that you do the absolute best with the least amount of effort. That's your God-given gift. He didn't hide it from you. He didn't put it under the rocks. He didn't hide it in the ocean. You don't need no map to find it. God put it right here when he made you. All y'all are gifted at something. The Bible says your gift will make room for you and put you in the presence of great men.
Time is the mightiest force in the world, or even in the universe. Of course, the answer to the question I posed is very obvious. Why would you ever choose to fight time when you could have time on your side? Who wouldn't want to harness the great river of time that flows through all of life? Why wouldn't you want to use the power of time to generate power in every area of your existence, to turn the turbines of your hopes and dreams, to charge your every aspiration with lightning bolts of electricity? Well, there is only one way to make time work for you, not against you, and that's with patience. Patience. There's a type of person for whom everything is undertaken out of desire to achieve a goal. They prepare food in order to eat it, not just for the fun of being in the kitchen. They start a business in order to make money. They exercise in order to get in shape. I'm sure that some of these people are very successful, and they are certainly highly organized. But in my opinion, a person of truly strong character sees success as an adventure, not as a point with an estimated time of arrival. The latter approach to me is impatient thinking. Impatient thinking can lead a person into some very big mistakes. First of all, when you are always looking somewhere else, whether it's down the road or up toward the top of the mountain or off toward the left field fence, where you're hoping to hit that grand slam home run, when you're looking off in the distance like that, you often miss what's under your very own nose. That means the pleasure and fun of living which come in the here and now get overlooked for something that not only isn't here yet, but might never arrive. True patience is more than just a waiting game. Patience doesn't mean you sit around hoping for something to happen. Patience is not a passive quality. Sometimes patience can mean doing something else entirely, thinking about another venture, taking off in a different direction, while you give events a chance to run their course. All through his long career on the screen, John Wayne never felt he got the credit and recognition he deserved for his skills as an actor. Yes, his films were consistently successful at the box office, and even today, John Wayne is still the #1 favorite movie actor in the United States. But a big following among moviegoers didn't translate into critical esteem or the respect of his peers. That's what the Duke wanted, and he felt he deserved it too. Then in the last years of his life, he made a movie called True Grit, in which he played a drunken, one-eyed old U.S. Marshal named Rooster Cogburn. That portrayal got John Wayne the Oscar he'd been waiting 40 years for. It wasn't the kind of high and mighty hero role he'd played when he was young that finally got him his award, but it was a role that he'd waited for all his life, and he didn't even know it was coming. There's no area of human activity that requires more patience than raising children. If you haven't got patience when you start out in this, you're going to have to learn it one way or the other. A baby is born after 9 months. If the future mother is tired of pregnancy before the time has expired, well, that's too bad, because there's still 2 months to go, whether she likes it or not. And when the child does arrive, he or she grows and develops at a pace that's quite beyond the parent's control. Parents who try to force a child's development are asking for trouble. And this is one point on which psychology and common sense are in complete agreement. We've all heard of parents who think they can create another Einstein by giving their 2-year-old a book on astrophysics, or that if a child is made to play the piano for an hour a day, it will bring about the second coming of Mozart. None of this works, of course, and it also ignores the fact that all real prodigies developed completely according to their own timetables. And even then, the result was usually not exactly what one might have hoped for. Mozart, for example, had a very difficult later life, and he died young, in part because he grew up so much sooner than other children. He never really had a childhood, and at 30 he was already an old man. Anyway, it doesn't take textbooks on physics or hours of music or any other kind of force to teach something effectively to children. It just takes one thing. It takes patience. It may seem like a callous comparison, but there's a sense in which raising children is like any other investment. So much depends on when you need to cash in your chips. If you're in a hurry, if you need to see results tomorrow, you're putting a lot of pressure on everybody, and there's likely to be a great deal of disappointment. But if you can afford to wait, you can ride out the hard times and eventually realize a profit. The odd thing is, sometimes waiting for years is easier than it is to wait for a few days or even a few minutes. None of us felt too strained because we had to wait 12 years to go through grammar school, middle school, and high school before getting out, or at least the first 11 and a half years didn't strain my patience. But ask me to wait 45 minutes for a plane flight, or 20 minutes in the waiting room of a dentist's office, and if you catch me on the wrong day, it's almost more than I can handle. We all find ways to wait for the next paycheck, but how many can wait patiently in a checkout line in a crowded supermarket? How many people can stand and wait quietly for an overdue train on a railroad platform? It's as though there are two kinds of patience. The kind that sets you up for the long term and gives you the promise of a better and richer day after tomorrow. Then there's the other kind. The sort of patience that helps you remain sane and sociable while you're waiting in line or watching the clock or waiting for a pot of water to boil. These kinds of patience, so different and yet so much the same, meld into your character and have a fundamental effect on your physical constitution. Any doctor will tell you that it's better for you and everyone around you if you don't get exasperated with little things, if you don't fly off the handle at every annoyance and stick in your way. It keeps your blood pressure down and your friends and neighbors happy if you can greet life's little problems with equanimity and patience. Because almost all problems can be solved if only you take the time to see them and think them through. That's very easy to understand and it's very easy to say, but it takes strong character to put it into practice. I'm never sure what to think when people say, I want to make $1 million by the time I'm 40, or I want to retire by the age of 45. This combination of goals plus deadlines strikes me as short-sighted and maybe even a bit naive. It takes a worthwhile goal and subjects it to an imposed timetable. While you might have an idea of what $1 million would mean to you, or you might have really exciting plans for your life after you hang up the tie and business suit, I don't see how a person can reasonably expect to know who or what he will be or think or feel at some arbitrary moment in the future. This kind of thinking misses the whole point of success. The real payoff in financial and worldly success isn't the result of an amount of money divided by the age you are when you get it, or some other actuarial formula. The real payoff is found in the qualities of character you develop along the way. There's a story about a young man who had a very old and rich uncle. When the uncle died, the young man was called to the office of his attorney and told that he'd been left a huge fortune. To collect it, however, he first had to run a certain errand which was described on a slip of paper. It seemed simple enough, but when the young man tried to accomplish it, this first task turned into another, and then another. As he pursued his uncle's final request, the young man was led into foreign lands and exotic adventures and untold dangers. More years passed, and the young man nearly lost track of how and even why he was on this long journey, and he could hardly imagine what its end might be. At last the Odyssey led him back into the very same lawyer's office where it had begun. "I'm here to collect my inheritance," said the heir, no longer a young man, but a much wiser one. The lawyer smiled. "As your uncle intended, you've already collected it, in the places you've been and the things you've learned. And again, as he intended, it will last you for a lifetime." Success that comes too easily or too quickly almost never lasts. For people who achieve that kind of success, there's always a lurking feeling that they haven't really earned it.
Thank you so much for watching till the end. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments section. Please also like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends and families. Please watch our other motivational videos. Thank you again.